All right, all right. Okay, so I think we got a little feedback. So let's get this ball rolling. How's that? Can you hear me real good?
Yeah.
All right, so we haven't done this in a while, guys. Hey, so prepare yourself. This is T3 Medias, and we're gonna do finally doing the binge review of Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
I didn't finish this first. You finished it like a couple of days before I did, right? Or a day or two before I did.
Yeah, I binged it in about a day and a half.
It was very bingeable, but it was like 10 episodes long. It was Netflix original. Right off the bat, it was well, let's talk about what this thing was all about. So this is based on a comic book. Let's see. Let's look at the synopsis here. On one day in 1989, 43 infants are inexplicably born to a random unconnected women and who showed no signs of being pregnant the day before. 7 are adopted by billionaire industrialist Sir Reginald Hargreeves, who created the Umbrella Academy and prepares his children to save the world. In their teenage years, though, the family fractures and the team disbands. Fast forward to the present time when the 6 surviving members of the clan reunite upon the news of Hargreaves' passing. They work together to solve a mystery surrounding their father's death, put divergent personalities and abilities again pull the estranged family apart, and a global apocalypse is another imminent threat. The series is based on a collection of comic and graphic novels created and written by My Chemical Romance lead singer Gerard Way. Did you know? I was blown away when I
never heard of that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the guy from My Chemical Romance. I didn't listen to a lot of their music. The only song I like was that debut song with that video that they did with the funeral. It was something about that so long again, good night. And I was like, this dude is a definite. He wasn't a one-hit wonder, but like his album debut, I think the fame started to go downward. But I didn't know that this dude could write comic books. Apparently he can. Dark Horse bought it and it was a success, and Netflix did this series. So right off the bat, what did you think about it? The whole shebang. We're gonna do spoilers, by the way, guys.
Yeah, spoilers
right to the end of and speculate what we're gonna think about the next upcoming season. So what did you think about it?
I loved it. I thought this was one of those series because I watched quite a bit of TV shows, and every once in a while you come across a show kind of like Stranger Things or Dexter or Ozark, where you're just like, this is all I want to watch right now. This show has my complete attention. And, I actually, my wife, kind of like a couple of shows, my wife was like, let's check this out. I'd never heard of it, never heard of the comic. Watched one episode before I went to bed. The next day, bam, binged the hell out of it. This series is one of those things where more than just one character was really good in it. It wasn't just like, oh, that one guy stole the show. However, there was one in particular that was very good, but there were several that were very good in the show. I loved it. I thought it was extremely sucks you in, and especially because I had no idea what this stuff was about. I'd never heard of this before. What about you, Chris?
It was it's funny how the way they marketed it. Before I saw anything on Netflix or the trailer to it, I saw a little advertisement for it. You would think that with the way they marketed it, that this was going to be the former X-Men who was on those old X-Men movies. This is going to be the Ellen Page show, because she was the main person that they marketed and showed and got out there to push
the most famous.
She's exactly the most famous person, and to push it, especially since she does have a history in doing comic book movies and whatnot. So they put her out there most to market it. But that was misleading. She was, even though she was a very crucial part in the series, was rarely in the whole damn thing. The way that they treated her character almost was the way they treated her
in the show.
Her presence in the show. Yeah, she was very little used, but I thought it was interesting that the person who had the history of doing comic book movie films was rarely used in the whole series and became the most crucial thing about the whole damn, and was the whole point of the whole damn thing. It was very well
hidden in plain sight.
It was hiding in plain sight. I was very shocked that the Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance did this a little bit, because I saw how his videos were shot and edited. I remember those from the early 2000s, and I guess I could see a comic book mind there, because his stuff is pretty. He's got an eye for this stuff. So I wasn't too shocked when I saw that he was the guy who wrote this comic book. It's a pretty good story.
I thought that Aidan Gallagher, the number 5, the one that could, bend space and time, kind of, if one would say
Stood out.
they stole the show,
Yeah.
it would be Aidan Gallagher, number 5.
The kid.
Yeah, he was so good in this. He was such a little smart ass, and he had like this really weird, spoilers, he has this really weird relationship with a mannequin that lasts for, I don't know, I guess 40, 50 years, or maybe 30 or 40 years, something like that.
Probably gonna go through longer than that. That dude did steal the whole show. If I was to say who stole the show in this order, it would probably begin with Aidan Gallagher, then Robert Sheeney, the drug addict brother.
Yes, he was good too. He was really good too.
Then Tom Harper, the number 1,
the Hazel. Oh wait, no, Luther, yeah.
Yeah, number 1,
Big
and then
guy.
number 3, the guy who threw the knives. What's his name? Oh man,
David Diego. He goes by Diego.
David Diego. And hey, interesting thing, that was the other actor that I almost had the chance to interview when I did that interview with We Die Young, the actress from We Die Young with the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Ah, yes.
Edgar Diego was the villain of that movie.
He's coming up in the world.
He was the other person that I had a chance to interview, but it didn't work out that way. So I only got to interview the one actress. But I was going to ask him about because I just started watching Umbrella Academy, and I was going to start asking him some questions, but time it wasn't set up for that. But I was this close.
I did think you were right. I did think Klaus, Robert Sheehan, or I apologize if I butchered his name, but Klaus, the drug addict, he had some of the best scenes in the whole show. He was so good.
I didn't like him at first for the episode 1, and then I started loving him by episode 2, 3, and 4. The more you broke past the asshole.
I tell you what, spoilers. Don't listen if you want to hear.
We're spoiling this.
There is a scene that I really liked in particular, and it's kind of a 2-part. Actually, more like 3 or 4 parts, I should say. Yeah. But it starts off with there's a scene where he steals a piece of equipment.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it. The spoiler. Look, it's been 10 days since this is the binge.
Yeah,
so we've already warned him. We're spoiling it. So
I thought that
already seen it by now.
He had probably one of the most emotional, very short scene, but he accidentally travels through time and ends up in Vietnam in 1968 for an entire year on deployment and in active combat. And you don't get to see it at first. You just see him reappear, and he's got airborne tattoos, and he's got his dog tags, and he's like crying and
probably sober as hell.
Yeah, he's covered in blood, and he's crying, and he's traumatized, and you're like, holy shit, they better show us what he saw, because you can't just show us that and not explain what happened.
They did real good at going back and hinting to something and then going back and showing it to us.
Yeah, he ends up falling in love when he's in Vietnam, and of course he gets killed right next to him, and because the thing is, him in particular, Klaus, the drug guy, he was always, it seems like he lived a more, I'm not gonna say sheltered, that's not the right word, but he was almost ignorant to violence, if that makes sense. Like he was not really like a fighting kind of person.
I don't think he followed any of his training.
No.
If it's interesting, I thought that him and number 7, Ellen Page's character, had a lot in common. Even though he did have a power, it wasn't that much. It wasn't really needed in the field. It wasn't anything they could really use.
Right.
And so he was almost just as normal. I was surprised that him and Ellen Page's character didn't get along, or he wasn't the one who could constantly like break through. It was the sister that was the one that was constantly getting through to her and talking with her. But I thought that she had more in common with Klaus than anything else. His power was so weak at the beginning. He almost seemed like he didn't have a power, because he would rarely tell anybody when he was speaking to a ghost. It was like, do you really even have a power, dude?
And then Ben shows up, who's their, one of their deceased teammates, and they interact, and nobody else can see, that Ben's there the whole time. And he's just like, no, I didn't. He just says this little witty stuff that when they're like, I wonder what Ben would agree with me. And he's like, no, I wouldn't.
I thought that was so lame that kid died so young. He died
the tentacles
and all that stuff, and I thought it was so lame that the only reason why we get to see him is because of Klaus's lame power. But then when he starts to, what did he say? Did you just Patrick Swayze me? You touching?
Yeah, he punched him. He got mad. He punched him, knocked the pills out of his mouth.
So now we find out that Robert has and again, guys, we didn't read the comic book, so we're only surprised about this because we saw what we saw from the Netflix deal. But Robert Shaney's character Klaus has the ability to not only talk to ghosts, but give a ghost the ability to use
physically interact with the
physically interact with the world, and deceased people with powers, they can go and use their powers again. That was a real big surprise. So it's almost like so now you have a teammate who is in the ghost world. He can be anywhere, find anything, do all kinds of stealth recon, and he can still talk to the team and help the team. That's almost an invincible team.
He is. Yeah.
That's so. I'm hoping that in season 2 we dive into that a lot more. That now that everybody saw their brother again helping out. That was a sick little power, man. The tentacles, man. That was.
And you know who else I thought was interesting was Hazel. One of there's like it's almost like 3 different stories running simultaneously in the show, and one of them is that number 5 is, when we first see him, he kind of, after their father dies, he kind of appears in air and falls on the ground, and he looks like a different age, and then he appears as a different age. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically
he projected himself into his younger self, and that was the only way he could actually get back.
Yeah,
they said time travel was tricky.
He's caused shit in other timelines, and it has come back to haunt him. And so he has these 2 hitmen trying to take him out, Hazel and Cha-Cha, and they have this really strange dynamic to each other. And when you guys watch this, or if you've seen it, you know exactly what I mean. It's very weird. It's almost
Do you think Hazel? Which one was Hazel? Was Mary J. Blige?
No, Mary J. Blige was Cha-Cha, and I think she liked Hazel.
I think she's in love here. Yeah. Okay, so I wasn't the only one.
No, I think that's why when he saw her kissing up on the cheek, he's like, that bitch. Like that's when she really went evil. Number 5 sends message. Long story short, sends messages to them to kill each other, and they don't know it's him sending it, the target sending it to him, because he's very clever, this kid. And
how tough was Mary J. Blige? All the times,
man, she went through the windshield. She was God, both of them.
I couldn't believe that they were actually human. I thought that Hazel was at least a superpower because he went toe to toe with number 1.
Luther. Oh my God,
it didn't make any sense to me.
No, and I mean, I don't know how Hazel was able to survive a lot of that stuff. But even though Hazel did kick his ass, kind of, he said that that guy, something's wrong with Luther. I dropped a chandelier on him. That boy just got right up. He's something weird about him.
Got that monkey blood.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, but. So going right down the line, down to then we find out that the John Magaro character, he played the boyfriend for Ellen Page, and
knew he was.
I knew he was a creep right from the beginning. He was just too nice. I mean, what grown man wants to play the violin, right? Except for nobody but stalkers.
It's the U effect,
And it looks like Adam Godley was the one who played the chimpanzee character. I've seen him in a lot of movies.
They spent a fortune on this show, guys.
You love that monkey effect.
It looks so good for a TV show. It looked like a $200 million movie we were watching. That they have a butler, and it's a talking monkey, and it looks just as good as any of the stuff you see in the Planet of the Apes movies. I was really impressed for it being a TV show.
I'll give it for a TV show. I'll give it a just as good. When you first told me about it, you were like almost better. I was like, I wouldn't say that. I was just as good. But I thought, well, it's been a while since those movies came out. As technology gets better, it gets cheaper. So I'm sure they were able to use that same technology easier.
Let's put it this way. I got confused as to whether or not what I was watching was prosthetic or CGI. I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was definitely.
Because the movement in the lips were very fluid. It was like, well, maybe that's a mask. It looks too real. But then the way it was moving, that can't be a mask.
It was, it's too fluid. So I was thinking that, well, besides any other animal, if it had been a dog, you'd be like,
it would have been easy to tell.
But with chimpanzees so close to humans, it was like it was perfect.
Your brain's like, damn, is that really CGI? Or
that's a cool monkey. I love that suit.
I kind of they leave when the season ends. It leaves you on a cliffhanger.
The ultimate cliffhanger. So that goes into Ellen Page's powers, how they finally manifested. But
Do you know that I didn't know that she had an official title. Apparently, like when she goes Phoenix, that she has her title has changed. I don't know if you saw what her name has become.
What was it? What
She's
did it
the
come?
white violin now. Is apparently what her character is called.
That's what is that? Oh, that's why she changed color like
Yeah,
that.
it showed the violin on the deck was white. Yeah, she's the white violin.
And her eyes went straight. So
like a green.
she obviously being isolated and
She has a
locked
split
away so much.
personality.
She seems to have anger issues, and she can't really handle herself. So she's a dangerous type of.
I see why she was sedated.
Yeah, but they had to realize that that's always a recipe for disaster. If you're not going to kill her, then tricking her into thinking she doesn't have powers. Okay, so what happens when she does find out she has powers? Then she's going to be pissed. You're afraid of her powers when she's on your side. What happens after you piss her off? That was the dumbest. See, that's why I feel like if people just follow the Martha Kent rule book, they took the boy in, they loved him, and Superman grows. He's the most powerful being in the world. He can take over the world anytime he wants, but he chooses to live a simple life whenever he can, because he was treated with love. But people are people. Like there's a new movie coming out, and I forgot what it's called, but it's kind of based on that same premise where a boy falls from the sky, is raised with love, but if he's a bad kid, he's a bad kid and he starts murdering people. Did you I showed you that trailer, right? That new movie, that horror movie that's coming out, right? That's kind of looks like a Superman ripoff.
No,
I forgot the name of it, but it looks like it's going to be pretty good. So it's on that same premise. So it's a Superman ripoff at first, you think, but then
he turns bad.
The twist is he's a bad kid. He's just a bad kid. So imagine Superman is just a bad kid.
It's too bad they took the name Superbad.
Yeah, that would have been a better name for that. But what I saw. So Ellen Page's character to me didn't have to be evil at all, but isolation, constantly being told you're nothing, and being made to feel that way. Of course, she's got a anger and rage issues. Look what she did to her own sister, almost killed her.
Yeah, I knew she had crossed the line when she killed her boyfriend with like 100 knives. I was like, she's not coming back from that.
Well, he deserved it. So
he did. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but with the way she killed him, and that was right after she like attempted to kill her sister. But you could tell like when oh God, what's her name here? It's a beautiful woman.
Ellen Page.
Emmy Raver Lampman, I believe her name is Allison. The one who could.
Number 3.
She says, "I heard a rumor that," and she can convince you or to do anything really when she says, "I heard a rumor." I knew she was going to get fucked up. As soon as she's like, "Don't make me do this," she's like, "I heard a rumor." It's just quick. And I knew it. I knew she was
exactly.
done for it.
I didn't think that. I didn't think she was going to survive that. I was like, whoa, that would have been gutsy to have her have a main character be killed off like that, because they already did it with the one of the characters.
Ben.
So Ben gets killed,
but they could have. I think that they should have, because the time warping in this show allows for semi-permanent things to happen.
They can go back and go change it. I like the fact that they hadn't thought of going back and saving Ben, just having him stay as a ghost. That's a good dynamic to me.
Dude,
I like that.
You wait. I bet I'd be amazed if they won't do that. Yeah,
I think Ben more benefits the group as a ghost. Like I said, stealth. Nobody can touch him, and then just get, as long as Klaus is alive, Ben is the most powerful tool that they have, and stealthy. How did you feel about number one constantly fucking everything up, choosing to lock up Ellen Page, seeing how powerful she is? She was able to break out of a soundproof room by using the sound of her own heartbeat to break out, and he still was in the mind of let's jump her mentality, knowing that didn't work. Like
I think that his heart was in the right place, but yeah, he didn't like when he started squeezing her in the hallway. I was like, oh no, that's not a good idea.
I knew he wasn't gonna kill her, but every decision he made led.
I thought he was for a second when he started crunching her. I was like, oh no, he's gonna take her out.
Yeah, he's gonna. But he had too much of a golden heart to should have murdered his own sister. But I thought for a split second, but then I was like, okay,
because she tried to kill his love, which that's a weird dynamic, guys. There's a weird thing in this show.
No, it's not. It's not weird at all.
It's kind of weird.
Blood related.
Yeah, but they're raised as brother and sister, and they love each other.
They knew they were adopted from day one. Oh, so it does not matter. You know how many times that you got to look that statistic up. Step brothers and sisters. sisters or adopted brothers and sisters, they grow up because it's a chemical
But
thing.
let's put it this way. Mark my words. People will talk about this being a little weird.
Oh,
Whether or not you agree it's weird or not is, it's up to everybody's opinion. But people are going to say it's a little strange that they ended up together.
Nine times out of 10, usually if you're raised from birth as brother and sister, you're not going to do it. But it happens more often than people think.
It's like, man, look at her, man. Do you blame? I mean, look at her.
It's like being in a relationship with a person that's always been your friend, and then one day your best friend is like, you decide to just start dating and stuff like this. It's almost the exact same thing. They're not blood related at all. If they were raised to believe they were blood related, then it would be weird. But they knew they were adopted from day one. So it was like, make up your own decision. And look who was raising them. That creeper showed them no. Of course, they decided to love each other like that.
No touching.
Their father gave them no kind of real passion and love.
Didn't even call them names. Number one, number two.
I love that idea when he said, "Look, why you don't have to call me.
You don't have to call me number one.
I'm the
why not?
One here
because I'm the only one."
He was such an asshole throughout that whole thing. And then the question of maybe he did love his kids because he just didn't know how to say it because he programmed the robot to give them the unconditional love that they needed.
I really liked the mom character.
It was coming from the mom character.
So the dad builds a robot for these kids to have a mom, and they just call her mom.
Just so because Seven kept killing the nannies.
That was so hilarious. We find out Ellen Page is because at first, guys, when the show starts, you just think that she's the only one that's ordinary. They lead you to believe that there's nothing different about Ellen. She's boring. They don't even put her in like the team photos. She's just like, oh no. She's like, you forgot me, father. Oh no, I didn't forget you. You just stay over there.
Your hair is not manageable.
But then you get 3/4 through the show and we started to get the backstory of Ellen Page's character. It's hilarious. There's a scene where her powers are starting to. She does have powers, and she's actually a badass, but she's kind of fucked up. And she starts killing all of her nannies in different horrible ways. And so the dad eventually runs out of nannies, and he has to build one that she can't kill.
It's funny how it's weird. You got a guy who could talk to dead people, a person who's super strong, a person that can make you do anything by whispering to you, a person that can curve anything he throws. All these weird powers that any of them could be very, very dangerous. But yes, she could be potentially the most dangerous. But how dangerous will she become if you isolate her, treat her like she's different, treat her like she's less than? He set that up to make her the most dangerous thing in the world. If he would have just kept trying, it was funny how much of a pompous ass that he thought how smart he was and how much credit he gave himself, talking down to everybody in the world. And there's nothing special about you. There's nothing special about you. And I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. But yet when it came to raising Ellen Page's character, he just gave up. The second he realized, this is too dangerous, I'm giving up. And he took the easy way out. Everything else he was willing to do the hard route, but for her,
when she showed attitude and she broke his monocle and cut his face open, and realized that shit, she's got attitude.
You hurt the moneymaker, so you gotta go into the quiet room. Done. It was the most ridiculous thing. The one thing that I didn't like about his character, all that pompous attitude and that holier than thou shit, and then when it came to that one little challenge, you were too weak to rise to it. He just still was willing to kill himself to bring his kids together, but he couldn't raise that one girl.
I think that so I don't know if you remember one of the first scenes where we see the dad, or when we learn about the dad's past. There's rockets going when you see the wife, and we learn where the violence.
I think that was like a war that happened.
But he came to America in the 20s.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's confusing because we don't know if he can time travel.
I think this. It says that it was dated, and I think this is like this is 2019, but
yes.
the technology is advanced, but still some things are pushed back. There are no smartphones. You notice that?
I did notice that. No cell phone. Yeah.
There's time for these guys have time machines. They have nuclear weapons. It feels like everything else feels like modern. It's like some of the cars look like
cars. The cars look like they're from the 80s.
The cars, a lot of them look from the 80s, but I noticed there were some that look more modern, more 2000s. There were some.
They kind of do the Napoleon Dynamite thing to you, where you're just not exactly sure. But they do tell you in the beginning of the show, the year is 1989 in Russia. So,
And then when you look at the age of the kids, the kids are
they're in their 20s or 30s or something.
so if it's 1989, then it means it's the early 2000s. So it's
Yeah.
probably the early 2000s. So that's probably why there's still no cell phone. So yeah, it's probably early 2000s. It's probably because that's when the comic. It makes sense because that's when the comic book I think came out.
But also, the dad knew there was going to be Armageddon. He knew it was coming.
I think he's one of those time travelers.
I do too. I think that we're going to find out that he's got abilities, and that's how he knew the kids. He could tell they had it.
How much you want for it?
How much you want?
That was the weirdest part. But okay, go fast forward to after we figure out the whole time travel thing. The moon about to destroy everything. It was all Ellen Page. And figuring out that she's the bomb.
I knew that was going to happen. The moon, when she punched a hole through, I was like, "Oh shit!"
I thought she was about to do an earthquake and ripple of like use the sound waves of everything in the world and just blow up the world that way, like do a ripple. I didn't see that whole moon thing happen. That was a good little shock. But then they went back in time. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Ellen Page will stay the bad guy, or will another big bad come out and she'll finally join the team?
No, I think that she will be. There will be salvation for Ellen Page. I don't think she's going to stay. And the fact that she didn't kill her sister, I think that if her sister Allison was dead, there would be no returning from that. But she didn't kill her.
She, without a lack of trying, where she let her anger get the best of her. Do you think her sister will get her voice back?
Yes.
And
so that's her whole power. She has to be able to, she's kind of useless without that voice of being able to. I heard a rumor that.
I like the Hazel character. I like him. It took me a while. I thought he was just another villain like all of them, but he won me over.
He had the weird dynamic with the donut lady.
I was like, is this a mom thing or does he like? Oh, he likes her.
I thought that he has known her. And she didn't realize he knew her from another time. Like I was like, well, she's so much older.
Hey, that makes sense. Maybe he did see her before.
But she was in her 20s or whatever, and he was hot for her.
You know what? Because you know what? There was a scene where they showed that they time traveled when the world was about to end. So
they did. They did fly back through time.
Yeah, so they're still alive. The whole thing with them, this is all ended on this real because I have to hurry me go. But the whole thing with that time group doesn't make any sense. Obviously, the numbers is probably in the trillions of how many people there have been in the world since the beginning of humanity. But this organization that whenever there's anomalies in the timeline or in history, we have to go through it and fix it. So your whole thing is from the beginning of humanity all the way to when the world ends. That's the only field that you get to work through. You get to live throughout through all these timelines in this era of humanity, but nothing moving forward past the end of the world. So there's no surprises, no new technology, no nothing, right? So what's the point? I mean, once everything has been done, why does this organization even exist? If what's done has been done, if the assassination of Hitler and the of Kennedy and all these other things, if they've made sure those things have happened,
the third gunman on the grassy, no.
Are there? I mean, God. So are there other time travelers that are still going back trying to mess them all up again? I mean, so what? I don't get why once this organization gets everything in place the way it's supposed to be, or what it's supposed to have happened. What is the point of this organization anymore? Because it seems like this is a system it just
never ends.
It does never end. Even though they only an infinite system but still only works in this little field of the existence of human beings.
Did you hear what the lady said when he was threatening, number 5 was threatening to kill the white lady, lady with the in charge lady, and she's like, if you kill me, they're just bring another one up.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they recruit people throughout from time and stuff and bring them in and whatnot. But I still don't get the point of it. If they're making sure that what's happens has happened, is there another organization of time travelers that's going back and still messing them up? Because once they fix it, it's done. Who's going back and messing them up again? That's the question. Like I don't unless there are other time traveler people with abilities of time travel.
I think this is one of those things where if you especially the writers, they were probably sitting down there like reading it like what they were writing, and they're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense.
No, I bet they have the answer.
And they're like, we'll figure it out 3 seasons down. Don't worry about it.
It's whatever they decided to be. I mean, Hey,
whatever.
And all you comic book guys, you guys who've read the comic book, I know you guys know the answer. No, and I don't want to know. I want to only find out through Netflix. So I'm not going to
Brain
go back
candy.
and
Let them. It's subjective. Whatever it is, you know.
I wonder. I'm curious on what liberties Netflix took, like what they changed from what happened in the comic book to do on the show. Because I know there's a few things, but we'll find out.
I'll my parting things will say, guys, watch this show. I loved it. It was great. And for me, Netflix has really come into its own for making really good stuff. I mean, we've had so many good Netflix shows. Good job, Netflix. Keep doing it, man.
Yeah, but this is from the guy who still hasn't seen Daredevil, still hasn't seen all these other things.
I have seen some of them. I just haven't seen all of it.
You haven't. You are a traitor because now that Netflix,
I haven't watched all the Daredevil and the Punisher.
I definitely hate it because now that Disney and Netflix are going through this rift, this is the only reason why they bought the Dark Horse property, is because they know Disney is taking their ball and going home with their stuff pretty soon with the Disney Plus thing that's about to come out. So Netflix knows that they're going to need something to. Hey, and this is a good start. I'll give them credit for this one. This was a good. It's not better than Daredevil to me, but it was right up there. So take Sean with a grain of salt. He still hasn't watched Daredevil. Just saying.
He knows I'll watch it someday. He'll say, yeah, I don't get why they are canceling all this stuff, because I think they probably should have let it run another season or two, but Marvel has control over that stuff, and Disney.
No, Netflix had control over it. It was Netflix's decision to cancel it, and they have that now, and they have that clause that there's a 2-year pause. Marvel is not allowed to use those Daredevil or any of those characters on the big screen or small screen for the next 2 years. After they get canceled. So if they do come back, there's not even a good chance that we've had the best Punisher we've ever had, and we probably won't get that guy anymore. Hopefully we will. I hope Disney decides to bring him back.
He might be one of those guys that are like, hey man, he's being loyal to it and he doesn't want to, but they give him enough money, he'd be like, oh, I'm good, So
but it doesn't matter now. Netflix has their new property, Dark Horse. They're going to tap into these Dark Horse characters. They've got a lot of good stuff over there.
Come on, Netflix, bring out the Spawn show. That's what I want to see.
That's it. Oh yeah, what if Netflix starts buying the Image stuff? Who knows? I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. Well, that's what we think. So that's what we predict for the next seasons. It was like the ultimate cliffhanger. They did that on purpose. Now that's how you do a cliffhanger. Everybody kind of makes you think that they're still going to wrap it up, and then they do a cliffhanger. No, they purposely.
I knew the credits were going to roll. I was like, they're going to disappear.
Cliffhanger.
Damn it.
That was one of the biggest, most epic cliffhangers I've ever seen. Bravo, man! You guys did it. Go check this one out. It was real good. Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. Oh man, bro. Until next time, guys. Peace. Don't forget. Let us know what you guys think. Put it in the box, comment, and like, share, hit the subscribe button. Then tell us what you think about this stuff. And now, Sean,
keep watching the movies, playing the games, killing the noobs. Peace.